my goodness. And there it is. Wow, gets it to go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bowl TV for continued coverage of the 2021 U.S. Women's Open. My name is Aaron Smith with Bowl TV, and we are ready. The top 24 have been determined here at the USWO, and those 24 competitors are getting ready for their fourth round and fourth different lane condition here today from double-decker lanes in Rohnert Park, California. We're going to be going out to the lanes in just a moment as the players get their final practice in. They get one shot on each lane prior to the start of competition after spending some time out on the practice range to get loose for today's 42-foot pattern, the fourth pattern that we've seen out there so far in the past 4 days. The big story from yesterday, Sherry Tan making the move after a bit of a rough block on the flat 40-foot condition in round two, where she shot 1480 for 8 games. She bounced back and averaged more than 245 to reclaim the top spot in the standings. She nearly passed her total from Friday to Saturday by 500 pins. Her last 6 games of the block, she averaged 260. So will Sherry Tan be able to keep up this pace? She's built up a lead over the field. Stephanie Zavala in second, Daria Payuk in third, Missy Parkin in fourth, and Shayna Ung from Singapore, the top 5 heading into competition today. We're going to start off by watching the top 4, though, as we get ready to start things up here.
Live stream or FaceTime from your personal device.
So we're having our announcements wrap up prior to the start of competition here.
Your arrows are coming up.
But we're going to see Sherry Tan, Stephanie Zavala, Daria Payuk, and Missy Parkin here in game number 1. But, of course, on BowlTV.com, you are able to watch all of your favorite athletes advancing here. So we have every pair and play covered. So you're able to work your way through from stop to stop and see their trek here, their first look at the 42-foot pattern outside of a couple practice sessions. This is the oil pattern that they're going to use throughout the rest of match play, which starts up later today, 8 p.m. Eastern, all of Monday, and then Tuesday on the CBS Sports Network Stepladder Finals. Of course, the $100,000 top prize as well will be determined on this 42-foot condition. As we get going here, let's bring in the Bowl TV crew on site from Double Decker Lanes. First and foremost, let's welcome in Emil Williams Jr., EWJ, all the way.
Good morning. Hello. What's happening?
Not much. Bowling. More bowling.
Bowling is happening. That is correct. I feel like it came a little quicker today. But I guess that additional hour or hour early puts it in perspective a little bit. But nonetheless, pretty excited. It'll be interesting though how this round kind of plays out because it's a little different. Theoretically, there is nothing on the line, quote unquote, except positioning. But you cannot put a price, I think, on positioning at the U.S. Women's Open. So there are pins to be had, and I think it's important to take this round just as seriously, and the players certainly will be doing that as they will when they get to match play. No bonus pins yet, but an additional 8-game block that really will have a lot to say toward the positioning when match play does begin later this evening.
I think that's a great point, Emil. As we mentioned, this pattern will be used the rest of the way out, so it'll be fun to see kind of who has the early advantage, who puts up a big number here on their first run at it. But we will get a deeper dive into the oil pattern here as we're going to next bring in Curtis Von Kruger to the broadcast. KVK, what do you say?
Good morning, folks. Good morning, fellas. Had a chance to see everybody kind of practice this morning. Looked out at the firing range, if you will, the practice range, and then saw all the bowlers throw their one shot on each lane. And I would say Maria Balanova had a really, really nice look on this pattern, along with Jordan Richard. Felt like they were making it to the pocket really well. Great launch and entry angles to put them there. So I expect big rounds from them. Sherry Tan, of course, looked good as well as she looks to build up an even larger lead. However, Stephanie Zavala is really putting herself in this contest. She had an incredible block last night and really feels good about this shot. Using the same equipment and the same ball that she threw the last night, in her mind, she has a very similar look, and that should scare the field a whole bunch, because when she is hitting the pocket, she is shredding pins. So it's going to be a great round, and you have the opportunity to get really aggressive on this pattern. And I look for those qualifiers that are in that 24 to 15 range to take that aggressive route, because they know they have to pick up pins, because Sherry Tan's not looking back. Stephanie Zavala's not looking back, and you've just got a veritable who's who in this top 24 when you look top to bottom.
Couldn't agree more with that. We have our defending champion, of course, Danielle McEwen. She finished qualifying in 10th place overall. Liz Johnson, the 6-time U.S. Women's Open champion, qualified in 6th place. How about that? But Maria Bolanova, you mentioned her having a good look. She made a big move yesterday. She started round number 3 in 41st place. She was one of the players to go 300 over for the block, along with Stephanie and Sherry Tan. And she moved all the way up to 11th place off the strength of that block. So you mentioned a couple rookies in there, which is always fun to see the next generation perform here at the U.S. Women's Open. But yeah, definitely some familiar names in the mix here heading into this block and the rest of the way out.
I talked with Stephanie Zavala, and I love we'll probably put that interview up today. I loved her answers for things, because she didn't tiptoe around the tulips, if you will. She talked about the Rookie of the Year race and said that is something on her mind. It does matter to her, and she knew that she had to match Brianna Klimmer's performance in this tournament, or better her, to really seal up that or take a strong control over that Rookie of the Year race. So that's definitely something we want to look at. But you look at the Player of the Year race as well, and Dasha Kovalova, Shannon O'Keefe, just to name a couple, are right there. Verity Crawley. Had to be a disappointing tournament, obviously, for Julia Bond, as she did not make the top 24, but still time for her as well to continue to push that thing in our last event. But we'll have a much better understanding of the Player of the Year race after this tournament concludes.
Very true. Folks, as we get into game 1 here, we're going to go full screen, but myself, Curtis, and Emil will be around throughout the course of the day chatting with you good folks as we get closer to match play here after this 8-game block. Big hello to everybody joining us on BoldTV.com. As always, I already see a bunch of familiar names saying hello, so thank you for joining us here on Sunday, good folks. Big hello to everybody joining us on Facebook and YouTube as well. Just as a heads up, we will be here for game number 1 on those platforms before sending the broadcast exclusively to BoldTV.com. So in order to continue watching and get into match play as well, leading up to the CBS Sports Network final, you do have to pick up a subscription to check out Bold TV so you can watch and pick up an event ticket, watch the live coverage for $8.95. That'll get you covered for both today and tomorrow. You can pick up a monthly recurring subscription, $9.95, which gets you full access to BoldTV.com. So not only the live events, archived coverage, and on-demand content as well. And then $79.95, the annual recurring subscription price. Transaction fees do apply for all 3, so got to head over to BoldTV.com, pick up a subscription today. Of course, we've got the great Bold TV chat community. Chat's always open. It's a good time. Talking bowling, whatever else may happen to come up that day. Cereal, always a big talking point.
Delicious. That's because it's delicious, Aaron Smith.
It is very true.
You know, it's also a big talking point. I eclipsed 2,000 points.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Curtis.
Trigger the whole chat is now triggered.
Everyone's still trying to figure out what the deal is now.
What do I do? No, Julia Bond literally stopped me when she was watching qualifying last night, and she was like, "This kind of gives you an insight to Julia Bond right here." She stopped me. She's like, "What are the Bull TV chat points for? And do I have enough? Is it good enough?" And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, I have 1,700 points. Is that a fair amount?" And she was very concerned if her point total on Bull TV was sufficient. That's how competitive Julia Bond is right there.
That's fantastic.
Just a little something to hold the show together, that's all. The points are, that's all they are.
James, if the alternate has to come in, there is a formula they use to calculate what her entering over would be based on the position of the bowler that's withdrawing and what the individual entering in, which in this case would be the first alternate is Stephanie Johnson. So they would calculate that score. It used to be you just came in with what you had. You know, so if you're coming in the second round of match play or you know, whatever the case may be, you came in with what you had and you were way behind the 8 ball. But they do a calculation in order to make it a little more competitive, I guess. Seraphin, yes. 100%. Thanks, Rick. On top of that answer, this will be a cumulative total. And that's why this round is very important. It really can give you the opportunity, especially if you're further down the list, to not have to worry about the top seeds getting bonus points. So it's a little easier to gain some ground because, you know, you don't have 30 bonus points on the line every time. So, and then when you do get into match play, 720 bonus pins total available for these players if they win all of their matches. Obviously a tall ask, Emil, but we've seen some big charges from players just by winning their matches.
Well, recently, I mean, 20-4, right? Jillian Martin at the ITRC recently, and then in my own U.S. Women's Open experience, the one that will always stand out to me, and I would have to go back and look at the record book. Shannon Kulhowski went from 24th to first.
Yeah,
in
that's a march.
In 2016, and that one will always stand out. So anything is possible with that many games and that amount of bonus pins available, which is why I started the broadcast with the positioning of this round is very important. I mean, this is not 8 games you just kind of look at as practice and preparation for match play. No. This is part that, well, you know, there's probably going to be some things you're going to learn as a player by bowling on this for 8 games that will certainly help you for the additional 24 match play. Because you're going to see this pattern obviously 3 more times, but I would liken this round to like a standard event round of 32, or probably like a round of 12, where it feels like it's match play, right? But it's not. It's still total pins until we get to the actual match play, which will take place tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Emil, going back to the 2016 U.S. Women's Open, that was a tough event. That pattern was no joke. And Shannon went 13-10-1 on the way to the top seed overall, but, you know, 205 average, essentially 204.5.
Oh, wow.
She was the high average for the event after 56 games. So it wasn't a crazy win-loss total, but that out-averaging the field by 2 pins when they were that tough was enough to get her to the top spot.
Absolutely. Sean St. Clair asks an over-under question, set at 5.5. How many boxes of Fruity Pebbles I've eaten during this tournament? And is that a daily total, Sean? 5.5?
That would seem excessive.
Because I'll still take the over. No, I'm on the under on that one. I'm on the under right now. But there's still 3 more days of qualifying, Neil.
Well, we'll say that I don't know. I don't think Fruity Pebbles was available, but there are cereal options. There are cereal options downstairs at the hotel, restaurant, and breakfast area.
The Bacchus. Cool name.
However you say it. It's very good though.
Which reminds me of New Orleans right now, and let's keep the Gulf Coast in our thoughts and prayers. My family's down on the Gulf Coast right now, so obviously worried about Ida as it approaches in full force, but especially everybody in Louisiana, please be safe. If you have friends and family and loved ones there, hope everything turns out well for them. It's a scary storm, but we'll band together and get through it, I'm sure.
Well said.
Shannon Pluhowski starting with a good game right now. 260 looks like it's possible still. Some scores out there. Misaki Mukatani can bowl 250. She's bowled, Aaron, we've watched her for the last few tournaments now, and she has really put on an impressive performance here stateside.
I would 100% agree with you on that, Curtis, and has been fun to watch since making her PWBA Tour debut at the Summer Classic Series. So that was our first opportunity to see Misaki, and certainly has not disappointed. Going back to the PTQ at the Summer Classic Series, she did have to qualify for that event, and came out of the gates with a $130, I believe.
Yes, she did.
But she worked her way back, easily got into the main field, and then nearly ended up making a show. So she's a steady competitor. She's not going to give away the pocket very often. She's going to fill her frames. So if I mentioned this yesterday, I feel if she finds a little something on this 42-foot pattern, she could be some trouble coming from that. She was one of the last ones in, but it could be some trouble moving forward for folks the rest of the way out.
I believe she was in 23rd through a double late, or actually through a 4-bagger late, to put herself in the cut number, as there were several bowlers breathing down her neck and threw some really clutch shots. Started off with had a rough start to her 8th game, and it looked like she was in a lot of trouble. But pulled it together, like you said. She doesn't give up the pocket. She converts her spares here at the U.S. Open, and that will get you far. And players that miss the cut by 5, 10, 20 sticks, they're looking at all the wood they gave away with their spare shooting and things of that nature. It always never feels any better, I would imagine.
Misaki did have a late string of strikes to kind of secure her spot. She was in the cut number heading into the final game last night, and kind of had a bit of a rocky start to that final game, as there were some scores out there.
Yeah,
for sure. So Daphne Tan, Brianna Clemmer bowling themselves in, but Misaki did what she needed to do down the home stretch to secure this spot and get 32 additional games.
Hey man, that's getting better value for your money.
What's up, Michael? Watching from Australia. I think this pattern so far, from what I watched last night, to our almost complete game one across the house here. To me, it seems the most cut and dry, if you will, at least to start. Most of the players, if not all, have started right.
Yep.
With what looks to be a lot of solids
Surface.
from equipment, respective from surface. With that start, you anticipate again just kind of the chase it left for right-handers.
Yep.
So, in comparison to all of the other patterns this week, this one seems again at the surface, no pun intended, to be the most, or I should say, the easiest to figure out early on. Not saying the pattern is easy. I'm
No.
simply saying strategically, it seems pretty cut and dry as we begin today. Now, that could change tonight. You never know.
I definitely think this is very straightforward as far as what zone you need to play in. You still got to execute the shots, though. It's not like they have, as you alluded to, it's not an easy pattern, and they don't have a ton of room. The ball is sailing on them if they don't get it pointed in the right direction. So launch angle is really, really important. You can't get it going right early. You have to really keep your angles pretty tight, so it seems, in order for it to get the corner. If you leak one out, you're probably nailing the 3-pin on the face.
We have at least one outlier, though, guys, for attacking this pattern as we see Stephanie Zavala step up. She's kind of moving to her bread and butter, if you will.
Yeah,
getting closer to third and fourth arrow here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, she said she bowled practice last night, and I talked to her afterward, and she said, "No, I mean, I threw the same ball that I threw on pattern 3, and it felt like a good look to me, and I'm just going to kind of continue to do what I do." And she's one of those players that has the ball roll to kind of get in and make the corner, So we'll see if that proves to be advantageous for her throughout the tournament. And Taylor Boltice has had a couple of bad breaks here in this game. Fast 7 and then a blower 7-10 here. Never a good time.
For the folks at home, if you didn't catch Matt Canizaro's excellent story on Taylor and kind of her current situation, taking off Spokane last week to kind of focus on her mental health to get ready for the U.S. Women's Open. It's really a great read. Head over to bowl.com or PWBA.com. Matt's been putting together some really great stories on the competitors here this week. So if you haven't had the chance, swing on by, check out Matt's recap stories so far here from the U.S. Women's Open.
Matt's sprinkling the fire this week. Although, what do you come to expect that from the MC?
He's the best in the business, no doubt.
It's a very nice look into Taylor's life on the tour and the things that we talked about that she's been open about recently regarding her own mental health. Very good story.
Jillian email asks, can we explain how reverse oil works and how that affects lane conditions and ball motion?
Yes, I saw her question, and I was about to respond. Look, we could try, but I would rather get her an expert. To do such things. So I will take care of that for you, Jill.
You know what? I reckon we might have a lane expert a stone's throw away here.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
And also a pretty good bowler in his own right, and I see him watching some bowling over there, Emil. I might go convince John Janowitz to come over here and give a little master class.
That would be an expert.
He knows a few things.
All right, folks. Game number 1 just about wrapped up here. And I believe we'll have Double J join us for a brief second to talk about that heading into game 2. Stephanie Zavala, 169 with that 710 in the 10th. Missy Parkin, 159. Daria Payuk can max out at 189. And Sherry Tan, 174. So this top grouping that we had, these were the top 4 players in the overall standings. Not off to the quickest start here on pattern number 4. But the good news is they have 31 games to adjust.
Yeah, I think they better start figuring out quick. And we will have John Janowitz in the booth to explain the intricacies of this pattern and how the different stages of oil and lane maintenance affect ball roll. You just look at lane maintenance over the last 30 years and the technology and understanding of the viscosity of oil, how it affects ball motion, the ability to strip lanes, the ability to oil consistently has really changed the game a lot. And so John Janowitz works for Kegel. Obviously, he's had success in the bowling industry himself. He's a Hall of Famer. And so that'll be a good time. That'll be a really good time. And if you're not a subscriber to Bowl TV, well, he's going to be on. So get your subscription so you can get up close and personal with John Janowitz.
All right, folks, you heard it there from Curtis. Got to head over to bowltv.com to join us for our chat with Double J and watch the rest of round number 4 here. So we certainly hope to see you head on over, say hi in the chat, meet the crew, if you will. So we get our final shot here of game 1. Sherry Tan looking to get to 174.
At least a solid 10% of the fun of Bowl TV is being in the chat. A solid 10%.
Couldn't agree more.
It's probably more than that.
All right, folks, game 1 in the books here from the 2021 U.S. Women's Open. If you're watching on Bowl TV, we're going to take a quick second to reset for game number 2. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, we're going to be saying goodbye for right now, but hopefully you swing on by, pick up that subscription, and watch the rest of the U.S. Women's Open leading up to the CBS Sports Network Finals on Tuesday. So, folks, we'll be right back from Double Decker Lanes in Rohnert Park, California for game number 2.
I'll think about it later.
Taking a look at the lineup here for game number 2. Birgit Norreichs, Josie Barnes on 13 and 14, Daphne Tan and Diana Zavialova on 15 and 16. You can find the full lane pairings for Across the House on bowl.com/US Women's Open or PWBA.com right up front. Just a quick rundown across the house. Mentioned the pairs we're on right here, 13 through 16. On 17 through 20, we have Misaki Mukutani, Brianna Clemmer, Sherry Tan, and Stephanie Zavala. On 21 through 24, Daria Payuk, Missy Parkin, Shayna Ung, and Liz Johnson. 25 through 28, Brianna Cote, Clara Guerrero, Shannon O'Keefe, and Danielle McEwen. 29 through 32, Maria Bolanova, Shannon Pluhowski, Dasha Kovalova, and Taylor Baltais. Then on 33 and 34, Lindsay Boomershine, Jordan Richard, Valerie Bercier, and Verity Crawley.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, game 2 here this morning now officially underway. And as promised, we welcome in the USBC Hall of Famer, 3-time Eagle winner. We can just go on and on, certainly. But please welcome in John Janowitz into the Bowl Stream TV booth. JJ, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you doing, Emil?
I'm doing well. Thank you
Excellent.
for joining us.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we know that. The first thing I want to say is I don't want the people and the viewers to be upset at you because you're just running the lanes this week. You are not responsible for the creation.
Yeah, I didn't cook the dinner here. I'm just serving it to the customers. That's pretty much it.
So I want to make sure that you don't get any slight that you shouldn't get. I do want to ask the first question, and Curtis mentioned it to you. Julian in the chat asked about reverse oil. And how that affects the pattern, the bolage, et cetera. So can you walk us through, reverse oil and everything else kind of that plays a role into a lane drive?
Sure. Yeah. When it comes to, forward and reverse oil, when it comes to the Kegel machines, we have the ability to, determine, how much we want to put in one direction and or the other. And, like when you're dealing with a pattern like this here, where, we're dealing with 27 mils and you've got, like 21 of it going forward, it just means that, the more oil that you have going forward means that machine's also going to be running a little bit slower. And also, you're going to have more oil that will be applied a little bit farther down the lane when you have that much more volume. So, and then the reverse oil basically helps build up mostly the front part of the lane more than anything for durability. And also, depending on where it's applied, how deep into the lane it's applied can also affect, can create a little bit more hold as well, especially like when you're dealing with house conditions. But the more reverse oil you have in general, it just means that you're going to have a little bit more oil closer toward the foul line, and it'll just be a little bit easier to get the ball to the front, where if you have a lot more of it going forward, like I said, you're going to tend to see a little bit flatter front to back taper. And when I refer to refer to taper, I'm just talking about the amount of oil in the front of the lane in relation to the back. So, like I said, the more forward oil you have applied, you're going to tend to have a little bit closer to, an equal number from front to back, or a smaller ratio in the front, as opposed to where if you have a little bit more reverse oil, you might have maybe 4, 5, 6 times the amount of conditioner in the front of the lane in relation to what's in the back. So that's really kind of the gist behind forward and reverse oil, and more of like what its uses are for.
As a bowler, how should bowlers, when they look at a graph, then apply that forward reverse knowledge, if you will?
Well, the one thing I just kind of look at, also from a bowler aspect myself, is that, whenever you have a lot of oil going forward and very little in the reverse, you kind of know, all things being equal, that you're going to have more oil near the end of the oil pattern, and you'll have not as much in the front. And from a ball motion standpoint, the thing to probably expect would be, as you start getting more and more lineage on the lanes, and the oil gets depleted in the front, and some of it gets carried down to the back part of the lane, you're going to feel like the front of the lane is going to be hooking a little bit more, and then the backs will be a little bit tighter. Whereas opposed to where if you had a pattern where you had very little oil going forward, it also means that since you have very little oil being applied going forward, it means you're also going to have less in the back. And if you have a bunch of that being applied on the reverse, it just means that you're going to have less down the lane, and it's going to be easier for a ball to slow down the lane, or if you have less oil going forward in relation to the back. So that's really the biggest thing, is whenever you have more oil going forward, as the lanes tend to break down, they're going to feel like the ball is going to be hooking a little bit earlier in the front, and you're not going to get as much traction in the back.
Well said. That is good info, Julian. I hope that certainly does help with regards to reverse, forward. I guess wrapping up from a graph perspective, JJ, are there other items that bowlers should key in on when they look at a graph? And I know that's a common question that you certainly get, as far as how to read a
Right.
graph, etc. Any other common things that one should pay attention to?
Yeah, like I said, the distance obviously is the main thing, where it kind of gives you an idea of where you're going to kind of want your ball down the lane. And then once you figure that out, then I just kind of look at where the load structure is more than anything else. Like where you look at this pattern, there's a lot of oil being applied in the 4 to 4, 5 to 5, 6 to 6 range. So, there's a possibility that could also steer, where you need the ball down the lane a little bit farther right, or in some cases a little bit farther left of. And then once you kind of figure out where you kind of need it down the lane, then it's just a matter of, to me, do I want to get to that point straighter, or do I want to use a little bit more angle to get to that point? But like I said, once you see the load structure and the distance, I can kind of draw some conclusions from that. And then with the lane surface, since this is a brand new lane surface, there's no defined ball track. The ball gets to the front pretty easy here, so you're going to see a little bit more of the lane pattern, where like I said, on some of these older lanes, synthetics, especially when you start getting to that 12, 13 years plus, now you're really kind of playing a little bit more of the lane surface, and the surface is going to dictate a lot more of which direction that you need to get the ball down the lane, and also how you need to navigate through the fronts to get to that point.
Some excellent stuff there, JJ. In relation to kind of putting all that together with this 42-foot condition we have out there today, we see a majority of the 22 out of the 24 players in the field being right-handed. For the most part, we're seeing a lot of people kind of attacking, up first arrow, or, a little bit closer to the track area. We see with Birgit and Josie here, just not too many people getting left on this pattern early. Is that kind of what you expected, just from knowing kind of the players, the rev rates out there, and what this pattern is kind of suggesting with the lane surface?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, like I said, just by knowing what the pattern is, I would kind of expect the players to be a lot more on top of it, especially early, because like I said, a lot of the oil is going forward, and also there's a couple extra things in the pattern too, where they're running the machine slower down the lane to bleed off more of that oil down the lane, which will make the back part of the lane pretty tight. And whenever the back part of the lane is pretty tight, to me, you have to keep your angles a little bit more in front of you, because if you're going away from it too much and the back is really tight, if you use a little too much angle, or if you use a little too much ball speed, there's not a defined spot down the lane to really help the ball slow down. So that's where you start seeing a lot more of the 210s and people missing the head pin. So I think, just from a safety standpoint and, playing the percentages, you just kind of need to keep everything a little bit more in front of you. Now, once you get enough traffic to allow, to define a spot, whether it be through the front or maybe down the lane, then you can probably open up your angles a little bit more. And I kind of expect to see that when you start getting closer, like maybe game 5, game 6, game 7. But I think right now you just have to kind of really kind of keep it in front of you and, just kind of pay attention to the traffic and go from, pair to pair and just pay attention to where, who you're following more than anything else. Because I don't think they're very easy right now at all.
I'm curious, JJ, and for those who are familiar with you, certainly through Kegel and also your own bowling exploits as well. What got you involved in the lane maintenance specifically? Like, how did you kind of end up as the kind of that second half of your bowling career, if you will?
Yeah, really what had a lot to do with that was actually it was called the option tournaments that were held in Sebring. And the late John Davis was the one who owned the Kegel Bowling Center, owned Kegel. And he would hold these monthly 10-game sweepers every month. And, every month he would do something different to the oil pattern. Sometimes he would run short, sometimes he'd run long. I mean, like some of these tournaments, for 10 games, it would take 520 over to win. I mean, and then other times it would take under to win, and I was always very fascinated about that, like through lane maintenance procedures, how, you could, in the same bowling center, create such a very high scoring environment and then such a low scoring environment. You could be able to play out, be able to play in. And that always fascinated me. And to make a long story short, as I, got into my 20s and, I was still bowling a lot. I wasn't bowling the greatest. I felt like I wasn't improving as much as I wanted to. And I was always fascinated by this aspect, of bowling beyond the foul line. And that's kind of what got me involved with Kegel was, that John was looking for some people to take care of lanes on the PBA tour. And to me, that was kind of like something I really wanted to learn a little bit more about. And fortunately, he hired me in '98 and I've been with him ever since.
Very awesome stuff there. Double J, you mentioned low scoring pace here in the early going, and we do have a score update available online now. Only 4 players surpassed the 200 mark in game number 1. High game belonging to Shannon Pluhowski, 247, but a lot of 160s, 170s, 180s out there to go along with it.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, I kind of had a feeling they could be a little rough here, at the start, and especially if you're trying to use a little bit too much angle, and also the other thing too is when you have a lot more oil at the end of the oil pattern, I think that's also where speed becomes a very key factor, where if you get a little bit too firm, if there's a pretty defined dry spot down the lane, that'll kind of cover up and it'll help make up for it. But when it's pretty tight down the lane and you get a little firm, and especially if you get a little offline, that's where, you can get 6 in the other direction pretty quick. So, I mean, I think a lot of the girls are just kind of adjusting to that right now and, just trying to fine tune ball speed and ball roll and getting their angles right. And I expect scores to come up here probably, by the time you get to at this point here in about another 30 minutes to start getting into game 3. They'll start, figuring it out. And I have no doubt in my mind about that.
See a couple of questions in there, again, follow-ups here for JJ, and one is particularly probably around some of the bowling jargon that is often used. For example, the word tight, when we say tight down lane, etc. What does that mean? Explain that in the
pretty slick.
In every
means that from a bowler standpoint, it just means that it feels like there's a lot of oil down there, and the ball just doesn't want to slow down on its own. That's pretty much what I refer to as tight.
We do have some dialogue in this sport.
Oh yeah. We definitely have some little catchphrases and things that are definitely very unique to bowling. There's no doubt in my mind, push and things like that, where like, what the hell is he talking about? I mean, but that's it. When it comes to tight, though, that's pretty much what I always refer to. I think pretty much most everybody else does too. It's just not as much hook as you think you should see, more than anything.
Double J, I know we We talked last week, and I have to know this week, now that you've been there for a couple days, how's the dessert situation looking out there in Sonoma County?
It's been really good so far. I haven't, with qualifying going on, I haven't really been able to escape too much. But yeah, I did some damage in Yountville when I had about a day off or two there. Yeah, there was I put a hurting on my waistline and in my pocketbook there. But I found some really good stuff over at the Bouchon Bakery. And a couple other places too, Collar Chocolates. So that was really good. So I need to definitely go back for a replenishment. It'll probably have to be till after the tournament. But I'm looking forward to going back and stocking up before I leave back home to Florida.
For those that don't know, so JJ is what I call a high-end dessert connoisseur, is what I like to refer to him as. So, but wherever he goes, he finds the best desserts that he can find. But he also shares, which is a very nice thing.
I try to
as well. He brought us some stuff here.
And how was it, by the way? Was it good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I wanted to make sure on that.
So how did you get it? I mean, like, is food, like, are you just a foodie? Like, how do we get to the dessert part? Is it other food everywhere you go as well?
Yeah. A lot of it is food, and actually the desserts part I got from my mom, because she's definitely a chocoholic and there's no doubt I got it from her. So it just kind of started when I was very young and just kind of continued on. And as I was able to be fortunate enough to travel with Kegel and also travel with my bowling, I was able to see more different places, better ice creams and different chocolates, and I'm like, wow, this is getting pretty good here. So the more I started to travel, it kind of started to become a thing of like, all right, where are some of the best chocolates and some of the best ice creams and desserts and anything that's pretty much infused with white sugar? What can I find, around the world that's fantastic? And that's so far, it's been successful in Yountville so far. I can't in here in Sonoma Valley. I guess still got some more exploring to do, but like I said, right now though, with the way the schedule is, I can't go too far off the beaten path right now.
How far is Yountville away from where we are now?
It's about 1 hour.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of right there in between, like St. Helena and Napa. Basically,
Okay.
Kind of right in the middle there, kind of like dead east of here.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Getting close to the end of at least on 13, 14, 15, and 16. A couple frames left here in game number 2. If you have any additional questions, Nick Hoagland also is in the chat too, JJ. So Nick is answering some questions, and
cool.
If he doesn't catch, I'm going to throw to you as well while we have you for the last couple of frames. So your worldwide travel, your international travel, certainly part bowling and then obviously part lane maintenance as well. How did you end up meshing those two things together? And then some of the best places that, in your opinion, you visited across our great world here.
Yeah, a lot of it had to do with Kegel when it came to a lot of the international stuff, because, with all the different contracts that, we were involved with, taking care of European Bowling Tour, Asian Bowling Federation, International Bowling Federation. I mean, there's so many different organizations, the Pan Am Bowling, I was able to see a lot of the world and been very fortunate there. And that kind of allowed me to, be able to see, how the rest of the world eats, and it's been a heck of an experience. And I have to say I'm very partial to Asia, though. Like I said, because my mom's from Taiwan, if you didn't know that.
I did
so
not.
I'm basically half Asian. And so when it comes to, the food and the culture and everything, Singapore, Hong Kong, those are by far two of my favorite places in the world. And like I said, when it comes to food and especially like Hong Kong, being such an international port too, and with, so many, different kinds of, foods and everything that's there, it's a truly world city. So that's always been one of my favorites more than anything. So when it comes to also being a foodie and also, just shopping and amongst other things there. Yeah.
Joined in the booth by John Janowitz, JJ as we like to call him, here on Bowl TV. Game 2 nearing it. And if you have any last questions for JJ about lane maintenance, perhaps his own bowling, I wanted to ask him about what he thought, but I don't want to put him in a position to where he's running the lanes, but I wanted him to put on his coaching hat for a minute.
Yeah, sure.
And think about, like, where do you think some of the best places to play would be on this? And then maybe your opinions on the first three patterns. Yeah,
Okay.
obviously, because each one presented its own unique challenges, especially
sure.
pattern number two.
Yeah.
So talk about the week in lane maintenance,
Sure.
if you will, from what you've seen and the players and how they've attacked.
Yeah, I can definitely start from the first day's 36-footer. That was it ended up being a little harder than I thought it was going to be, actually. And the biggest thing that I took from that was, I mean, it started to the right, probably like that 5-6 range, which I kind of thought it would, But I had a feeling it was going to actually just creep in a little bit farther, and where some of the girls would be able to just kind of curve the lane a lot more. And it never seemed to get to that point. It just seemed like, whether because of the surface or the traffic and how the girls played them, it just seemed like the best way was just to kind of stay farther right and use slower balls and probably use more ball speed just to try to keep it on line. It just seemed like you never wanted to go any farther left than like about 12 for most people at the arrows, and you just had to just kind of just keep it in the dry and just kind of find a way to just shove it through the dry and have it just kind of go a little bit more forward off the spot as the clock went on. And I think that's where some of the girls got in trouble, because they tried to move in and they tried to use balls that kind of shaped a lot more and a little bit quicker response balls, and I think they just could never get a really good ball reaction that way. So I think that was what the big thing I saw on day one. When it came to day two, the flat pattern, that to me, that's pretty straightforward, because as far as I'm concerned, anything outside of about 8 is pretty much, you can cut that. You can pretty much cut that off and let that float away to sea. As far as I'm concerned, you're pretty much playing the middle lane and using angle, through the front to try to create hold. And it just always makes it tough, when you do it with the flat, because when you're basically just playing everybody else's traffic for the most part, which like I say, that's you get a lot of different rev rates and a lot of different ideas of how to get from point A to point B, because there's nothing defined on the lane. You're not getting any help from the oil pattern. So, I think that's what always makes things really challenging. And, I think that was kind of the opposite pattern, where I think, some of the girls I saw that got in trouble, they stayed too far right too long, and they had to actually get a lot deeper in and use more angle through the front part of the lane, because I was seeing some of the girls that were bowling pretty good late, and they were definitely, the straighter ones were like, throwing it pretty hard in around the 18, 19 range. And then, some of the ones that hooked it a little bit more, they were closer into 25, kind of doing a little bit of a slow curve thing out to like 12, 13. So I think that's where a couple of ones that I thought would bowl better when they got in trouble, they were too far right. So, and then yesterday was definitely, if that was the day you were going to get it, you were going to hit it. And I thought they were pretty playable from ball one. Like anything else, when you're dealing with 46-foot patterns and you're dealing with a lot of forward oil, like I said, and it's a lighter volume pattern too, you're going to see a little bit more transition. And I could see where, if the front starts to hook a little bit more in relation to the back at 46 feet, then carry could be an issue. And then that's where, the fine tuning of the ball speed and then, ball surface and then hand position, really, becomes a lot more critical, and now having to watch how your ball goes through the pins is now more critical, because now the scoring pace is a lot higher. Where, the first 2 days, when day two, when there's 9 people plus for the whole day, going through the pins is not really a high priority. You just need to hit the pocket and, leave something makeable for the most part. But the last day, yesterday, that, if you were going to get it, that was the day to make up all your ground. If you had a rough first day and second day, and there were definitely a few girls that definitely just cracked them pretty good. So, and like I said, that's kind of what I just saw from days 1 to 3. As far as today goes, like I said, I just see it being farther right. Now how far right you can go, like anything, will kind of depend on the pairs. I can see a few girls can be a little closer to like 3-4, but you have to be really on top of it. You definitely ain't going to be giving it away at that stage. I think the masses are going to probably be a little closer to like between probably like around 6 to 9, at the arrows. And then from there, if they break them down a little parallel, I think, they'll be able to bump in from there, and scores can get pretty good toward the end of the block. So like I said, it has the potential to be pretty good, but I think managing, keeping your angles a little bit more in front of you and managing the pair-to-pair and just staying out of trouble the first couple of games, to me, I think is probably going to be the biggest key thing. And, just not shoot yourself in the foot and go, 3-10 for 2 or anything like that. And then from there, like I said, I think it'll get pretty straightforward, because like I said, most of the girls are going to be a little straighter anyway. They're, you're dealing with the best 24 here, so they're all pretty smart. So, I expect scores to get pretty good later in the day.
Already seen a few. I think Jordan Richard it was in the 250s. Daphne Tan was in the 240s.
Yep.
This game as well. All right, JJ, we'll let you go on this last one from Jillian, which is a very good question.
Okay.
Essentially, for an intermediate player, so not a beginner certainly, but maybe not as advanced at that point. The best keys or things to be looking for regarding the lane transition while they're bowling. So what are the what couple triggers might they be looking for? And that actually might work across the board, no matter what level of skill you are.
Yeah, as far as, like I said, for lane transition, I think one of the big things you really want to pay attention to, especially when you start getting to the higher levels, is really paying attention to one, who you're following, because they're going to have a lot of influence of where you're going to end up playing, and also kind of getting a general idea of where the field is playing as well too, and that's also kind of leads into the second part where if you don't feel like you've got good ball reaction, look at the trends of, kind of look and see who's bowling well, because you're going to see a lot of trends of who's bowling well. Maybe they're all playing 5 and they're all going pretty straight. Maybe they're all throwing balls with surface, or maybe they're all slow curving it. Maybe they've all got higher ball speed or lower ball speed. But you're going to see a trend of some sort among the players, that are going to be near the top. And I think, once you see that, and then you have to kind of look at yourself and, okay, in my skill set, how can I get to that part of the lane, or do I need to be a little bit deeper based on my rev rate, or a little bit straighter, but what zone of the lane do I need to throw it to, and then how do I need to get there? I think that's the couple of things that I really pay the most attention to is who's bowling well, and sometimes also who's not bowling well. If you see somebody slow curving it and they're 150 under, well, you probably say, well, I probably don't need to go in that direction. So it's a lot of that is just kind of the awareness of like I said, especially of what the other players are doing, and then also knowing that where they're playing, you can kind of predict a little bit, okay, am I going to need to use a little bit more angle to the front as we go along, or since more of the field is doing that, scoring well, or since they're a little bit more parallel, maybe I might need to make a little bit more parallel moves.
Okay. All right. This is the last question. Shim, because we often use that term.
Yep.
What does shim refer to?
The shim is kind of like the hold more than anything else, or like that area where if you get the ball inside of your target, it stays on line. It's just kind of a generic term, which that's definitely one of those terms where, like, if you kind of shim it back, or that's kind of down shimba. That's kind of one of those things where, like I said, if you get the ball inside of your target and it still holds on line and stays on line and hits the pocket, that's what I refer to as shim.
That works for me. Great stuff, JJ. We appreciate your time.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing some of your insight, and we'll talk to you later.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Like I said, if you need anything else, just let me know. I'll be around.
We will. We definitely will. That is John Janowitz, ladies and gentlemen. Game 3 is going on, and I'll be back with you in just a second right here on Bowl TV.
Joining us here behind lanes 13 through 16 for game number 3, Maria Bolanova, Shannon Pluhowski, Dasha Kovalova. Nice cover there by Maria. Taking care of the 210 to stay clean here. Then Taylor Boltice. Scores are also in and available online at bowl.com and PWBA.com. After game number 2 here in round number 4, game 26 overall here at the 2021 U.S. Women's Open. Sherry Tang continues to lead, but her score kind of coming back down to the rest of the field. 174 and 198 so far. She's at plus 385. Daria Payuk now sits in second place, plus 296. Stephanie Zavala, plus 263. Brianna Cote in fourth, plus 239. Missy Parkin, plus 238 in fifth. Danielle McEwen having a strong day so far, 223 and 231. She's at plus 204. Shayna Ung in seventh, plus 198. Shannon Pluhowski, plus 188. Liz Johnson, plus 172. And Jordan Richard, after 266 last game, moves into 10th place at plus 169. Big games in game 2. We watched Daphne Tan roll 243. She moved up to 15th place with plus 104. Mentioned Jordan with the 266. Danielle 231. Daria Payuk, 234 that game. So scoring pace definitely picked up a little bit compared to game 1 where we had just 4 players.
Sorry about that, Larry. I have to talk to our people. I had that on my list, and then I couldn't scroll up to see it. Let me take a picture of it, though. And if I talk to him off camera, or if Nick happens to come back into the chat, I gotta remember to ask him. I do know that there are some differences, though, but I won't. I certainly can't give you what JJ would give. Larry, come on, bro. I'm not Aaron.
Harsh.
I love Aaron.
Harsh.
I'm not Aaron.
Where's the love, man?
Where is the love? I'm just kidding. But in reality or seriousness to your question, there is some differences, or are some differences. Run time and the amount of time that they sit does have some role, or can have some role. But outside of that, I'm glad everyone enjoyed Mr. John Janowitz.
Double J, really one of the best in the business. And if you ask Tennille Milligan who her favorite person in the world is, that answer is John Janowitz.
Well, when Jillian asked that question, see what I'm saying, Larry? That's what we do in the chat. Thanks, Nick.
Got Nick dropping notes about HVACs. The information these guys have still just absolutely fascinates and impresses me time and time again.
That's a good answer, too, from Nick, one I didn't really consider regarding HVAC. It really just goes to show how much, how in-depth lane maintenance really is. You know, it's not just pushing the button. If you have a machine, certainly that, you know, is more than capable. But in reality, pushing the button, whether it's cordless or wireless, doesn't matter. You know, pour the conditioner in, you measure out the oil. Yeah, I've seen the process. One of the more intriguing processes I've seen actually is at the Open Championships and the women's. I think that's a pretty cool. If we could somehow bottle that up and run that process, that's a cool way to kind of show lane maintenance. We once had a program back in the day, and I remember vividly working with Nick Hoagland. I think we got up at like 3 a.m. to go shoot with Nick at the Hoosier Classic, so he could explain lane maintenance and the patterns and such. It was a day I'll never forget. for numerous reasons.
Gotta give a shout out to Bill Walters as well, hopping in the chat. What's up, Bill?
Bill,
He's also spent some time out here running lanes for us, courtesy of Kegel, the official lane maintenance provider. Now, the real top tier lane maintenance moment, I think we shared in this moment, Emil, that both of us have had. As much as we talk about the great technology that's obviously out there from great companies like Kegel and all the advancements and the ability to have these patterns be so unique, so different to essentially take a look at scoring pace and all that stuff. Was at the Hoosier Classic. This was a different time, although it was a pretty cool experience for the 50th edition at Western Bowl there in Indianapolis when Nick had Len Nicholson out there to get the old spray can out for the match play portion of that event, and that was still well, I mean, that was the first time I had seen that.
that was an experience.
And that was something else. That was super cool.
Well, first of all, Lynn Nicholson is an experience.
Also,
That's the first thing. Then you add in the obviously the way it used to be done. You know what I'm saying? That's the other thing you had to recall. Like, you know, we weren't born into that era. Actually, I don't know. Now that I think about it, I don't really remember the earliest time I saw an oil machine go down a lane, which would be, you know, the late 80s, theoretically, if I started bowling. But, you know, watching Lynn do his thing and then watching the subsequent players try to, the new generation of players try to combat what the previous generation of lane maintenance had. It was a nice, cool merging of generations in that way. I mentioned from a score perspective, Aaron, that we had, especially when JJ was talking about, you know, expecting to see scores rise a little bit about game 3-ish, game 4-ish. And there was a 250 from Jordan Richard, or excuse me, 260, I beg your pardon, 266. As you mentioned, I saw Daphne Tan. I thought she had gotten into the 240. She did.
mm-hmm. Yep.
243. And as Jeff just mentioned, what's up, Jeff, by the way? In the chat about Jordan Richard continuing to at least look like she may be bowling on something a little different. She's got a pretty solid look overall. And at the moment can still get into the 230s, looks like, with a couple of frames left. Crowd starting to get a little larger as we go on here today. On a Sunday morning, set to turn into the afternoon here in Rohnert Park, California. This is Northern California, hour and change away from San Francisco, to give you an idea. A winner of a Bold TV T-shirt has joined us in the chat. I think he's been here throughout. Roger. So we've had 3 of the best lane maintenance technicians, either in the chat or on the air, in the last hour, basically.
It's pretty phenomenal stuff. The dust factor, as Jillian mentions. Who would have knew?
Yeah.
JT's point about what happens to live stream gear after like a week-long event like this or Junior Gold, when the stuff just kind of stays up there from day to day, and then all of a sudden you're getting into teardown mode. It's pretty crazy that the first time you run your hand over the router or the top of the cameras or something like that, and you know it's just something that's been open in there, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wow. Also, oh wow, has been the lack of strikes here in Game 3 on this particular pair we're watching. The pairs, they've been a lot of 9 counts up there on 15 and 16 with just 1 strike to show for it so far. And only a few on 13 and 14. The 1 double from Shannon Pluhowski after the early open. Gotta get to 191 though. Dasha working on a 5-bagger of 9 spares. There we go. All right. We got to start talking the strikes into happening. Dasha connects for her first strike. Maria, 1 in the 10th to kick things off. She can get to 164. Talking the strikes into existence. Bolanova going to finish with 163. Taylor with the spare conversion. Her spare conversion here can still get to 203. Dasha can continue striking. She can max out at 235. Taking a look around the house. Jordan Richard going to be in the books with 223. Still some bowling on 25 and 26. Misaki Mukutani and Brianna Clemmer. Clemmer just finished up with 181. Tenth frame left to go on 31 and 32. Shayna Ung can get to 208. Miss Johnson in the books at 190. Brianna Cote and Clara Guerrero still wrapping up on 33 and 34. So most pairs done with 3 here. $212 for Dasha. Showing off the spare ball there, the brand new spare ball. Her own personal designed Visiball. It's recently has become available to the public, I believe. 5 consecutive 9 spares, but that put her in position to throw a late 3-bagger. Made the 310 in the 10th. Get to 212. Taylor with that first hit in the 10th can still get to 203. Actually looks like she's moved a little bit right on this pair as the game has progressed. Going a little more direct. That's how I feel when I see 9 pins too, Taylor. .192 finish for Taylor. We're going to be getting into game 4 here momentarily. Quick question in the chat from John asking about how Liz Culkin wrapped up. She actually did not make the cut here. Or excuse me, Liz. Did I say Liz Johnson or Liz Culkin? Liz Culkin. But she did not make the cut. She was close. Ended up about 40 pins behind the number at plus 13 in 28th place overall. For Liz K, was in the number heading into the final game. She bowled the early squad, so she had to wait and see. But had a rough final game, 164, which ultimately pushed her out of the top 24. For game 4, Liz Johnson, Shayna Ung, Clara Guerrero, and Brianna Cote making their way here to 13 through 16. On 17 through 20, Shannon O'Keefe, Danielle McEwen, Maria Belanova, and Shannon Pluhowski. 21 through 24, Dasha Kopolova, Taylor Boltice, Lindsay Boomershine, and Jordan Richer. 25 through 28, Valerie Bercier, Verity Crawley, Josie Barnes, and Birgit Norreichs. 29 through 32, Diana Zavyalova, Daphne Tan, Misaki Mukotani, and Brianna Clemmer. And on 33 through 36, Sherry Tan, Stephanie Zavala, Daria Payuk, and Missy Parkin. Taking a look in the chat to James' comment. I guess you'll have a few weeks off until the next PWBA event. That is true. The PWBA won't be back until the end of October for the Fall Classic Series, but Bowl TV not slowing down, however. We're going to be at the Super Senior Classic and USBC Senior Masters from September 9th through September 19th on site in Las Vegas at Sam's Town for those two top-tier senior events back-to-back. Super Senior Classic is going to be kicking off at or from September 9th through the 13th. That event for players 60 and over. And then the USBC Senior Masters will start on the 13th, go all the way until the 19th. That event for athletes 50 and over. So a major on the PBA 50 tour schedule and bowltv.com. The only place to check it out. So myself and Matt Canzar will be on site for those two events coming up in just a little bit. So after that, I know in early October, prior to the start of the Fall Classic Series, we'll have our first Bowlers Journal Team Championship Series as well. Taking place, I believe, in Rochester, New York, October 8th through the 10th. So the good news is, for all you good folks on Bowl TV, we won't be away for too long. Score update in hand and ready to go. Available online as well. Bowl.com/US Women's Open, PWBA.com. Sherry Tan continues to lead, plus 391, but Daria Payuk, 224 that game, continuing to gain ground. Now plus 320 in second. Missy Parkin, 247 that game. It's now up to plus 285 in third. Stephanie Zavala, fourth, plus 258. Danielle McEwen, plus 207. Shayna Ung, plus 206. Brianna Cote, plus 199 in seventh. Jordan Richard, plus 192. Shannon Pluhowski, plus 179. Liz Johnson in 10th at plus 162. Some other big games in game 3. 234 from Josie Barnes. She's now in 13th place at plus 128. Talked about Jordan and her 223. Missy 247 lead the way. Daria 224. Top scores so far for the block. It's looking like the big number is courtesy of Jordan Richards, 686 so far today. Diane Zavjalova, very consistent, 226, 217, 227. She's at 670 for her first three. Those are the top two scores overall. After that, we drop to, let's see, Josie has 637. Shannon P at 636. Oh, Danielle McEwen, there we go, 657 would be your top three total so far for this block.
This should be pretty interesting if the scores remain in this fashion. And what I mean is the overall scores at the moment after 27 games, the plus minuses, if you will, kind of bunched together. And to me, that would just make match play that much more exciting. Because if it's pretty close and no one theoretically is running away, then we already know. We talked about it this morning in regards to how important bonus points is. And that goes without saying, but it puts a heightened level of focus, which I think probably is maybe the word of the week. Focus. Additional focus, not only for the rest of this round, certainly, but definitely match play. Because you can get into a situation where I'd personally love to see 10 people have a chance to make the finals when match play, or when round 3, I should say, if match play begins.
Yeah, I mean, just based off of what we've seen so far, I would agree. No one's really getting too crazy out there. It kind of suggests that obviously adjustments are going to be made from round to round now that the players are going to be seeing this pattern the rest of the way out. But yeah, if there were a couple people who were like 720 right out of the gates and then everyone else was a little bit farther back, you're like, oh, okay. See how it's going to be. Not the case.
You also have to take into account that the players and the reps will, take what they learned, obviously, and in hopes of having, some higher scores or better situations if necessary after this round too. So you might expect the scores to be somewhat higher as the rounds go on, and that's just based on the info that they're going to get or are getting currently.
Liz with the double. Looking to bounce back after a couple of early opens. Shayna Ung. Back-to-back opens here. Had that 298 yesterday. Still in search for that first 300 game here at the 2021 U.S. Women's Open. Thought Shayna was going to be the one. Get us kick-started.
I thought so too, man. The agents got her. I went full Matrix on that one last night. I was for sure she was the one. She was dodging pins and stuff like Neo the whole game. It was working out. It's not surprising anymore, Aaron. Maybe even at this point, I continue to just marvel even more how they can do. Speaking of Team Singapore, really not have any bowling, and none of the players really did. But they went through it as well. No training, and we've gotten to know some of their training regimen and whatnot throughout a normal season. So none of that. No real competitive bowling. Then I hop on a flight, for 15 plus hours and such. Get acquainted, time zones and all of that. And just come out ready to roll. I know probably shaking a little bit of the rust off in Spokane. But to come out here and perform the way they have as a group, and obviously, of course, Sherry, Shayna, and Daphne have advanced, but doesn't take away from what Jad Creel, Bernice have done this week as well. So it's always always a marvel to watch. Not only them, but Team Malaysia was here or in that same boat. They would be in similar situations, and I know they would be as competitive. As well as my homie Way.
Yeah, we know Sherry mentioned specifically, that first block in Spokane did not go the way she had hoped. But pretty much since then, outside of the 40-foot flat condition, which basically gave everybody headaches, she has been pretty spot on throughout the end of the Spokane, nearly making a run to the top 32 there. And then her performance so far here at the U.S. Women's Open certainly has spoke for itself. Good question from Larry in the chat. Do they get to change out their bowling balls, or do they have to keep the same 10 balls as they had at the start? And of course, with the U.S. Women's Open and the U.S. Open as well, prior to the start of competition, you do have to check in 10 bowling balls, so you get the opportunity to practice on the patterns for qualifying, and you do have to turn in a ball card. You're limited to 10, so you try to figure out the best 10 to attack those first 3 days. But starting with this round, after day 3, the equipment registration form can be adjusted while maintaining the 10-ball maximum. So players could switch out bowling balls to start this round, but once again, still are limited to 10. And then after the cut to the stepladder finals for CBS Sports Network, it can once again be adjusted, maintaining the 10-ball maximum. However, I don't feel anyone would go through 10 bowling balls on a show. However, that would be the most impressive thing ever. If someone did that. But that would be the utmost confidence with your ball reaction.
Is it just me, or did we increase the ball card limit?
How so?
I feel like it was 8 at some point.
8 has historically been the number at the Open Championships.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
But it could be more. Or it could have been looking back a few years. But I feel most of these changes have come in since about 2015, maybe to 2018, somewhere in there. I know the 4 patterns. I think this is just the second time, maybe the third time on the women's side for the U.S. Women's Open. Another good question in the chat or comment from James in the chat. Take it most of the ladies throw a spare ball, and that is correct. I'd say that is a very high percentage of players out here do use a plastic ball for spares. Jillian Martin's really the only one I can think of who I think typically does not carry a spare ball, likes to flatten out her whatever bowling ball she's happens to be using at that time. But for many of the players, one spot already taken before they even got here, dedicated to sometimes their favorite friend at the U.S. Women's Open, the spare ball.
It's got to be.
It's a bad week to have a rocky relationship with your spare ball.
It's complicated. That's not a good Facebook status. And some clutch doubles here down the stretch from some other lanes off camera toward the high end of the building, Aaron. Elsie Barnes trying to get into the 230s. And for her, it would be back-to-back 230 games if she can get there. She's on 27 and 28. Birgit Nordik's also on a double as well. Looking for her second 200-plus game over par here in this early going. Brianna Clemmer with a chance to get in the 240s. That'll be her highest game of the set so far. Also seeing certainly the struggles. I think you all know to anticipate and expect the intensity to go up a little bit once we get into match play tonight. There are certain players who really thrive on head-to-head, one-on-one situations. So even from that aspect alone, you might see higher scores. Good question there, Roseanne. All of the pins carry over through each round. So we'll be getting into the 10,000 pin mark later in match play.
It's a healthy amount of pins.
It is a healthy amount of pins. I'm curious to think of will those totals appear on the scoreboards as well. That'll be the next question. in regards to the Bowl TV points. Are there any similarities between the amount of U.S. Open pinfall versus our Bowl TV points? They look the same.
All I know is, if that's the case, JT is going to be the top seed for the stepladder finals.
Especially from this crew. You guys got 8,000 some odd points already. Like you spent so much time in like Dave and Buster's at Chuck E. Cheese.
Kote going to finish with 206. Clara going to get into the 220s here. In-N-Out Burger, Emil. That was the dinner choice.
Well, I told JT this early in the week. I have been trying to delay my In-N-Out experience for as long as possible because I knew once the first time I had it, I was going to want it again and again. So the later I could go in the tournament, the less theoretically I'd have time to get it. But it was our guy Jay from the Noel and Jay show. It was Jay's birthday, our super fan friend. So I bought him some In-N-Out for his birthday as a gift. And Sapphire and her dad Chris were there, also enjoying such delights and rewarding for a fine day of bowling that Sapphire did yesterday. And all week, really, not even just yesterday, but throughout qualifying. And just like that, Game 4 has come to an end here.
Just like that, indeed.
And now I want In-N-Out. See, that's the problem.
Well, the good news is if you ever come back to Texas, you can have Whataburger and have a real tasty treat.
Oh, boy.
Ah,
Here we go. That's a story, too. Funny story, but maybe we'll save that one for any lulls. Actually, we're one shot away from officially being complete with Game 4. Tough game there for Stephanie Zavala, too, Aaron. I think I counted maybe at least 3 splits. 3 splits and an 8-1 there in the 5th frame. But she was able to save 151.
has been a bit of a rough block for her so far. Did have a good question in the chat looking ahead to match play upcoming later tonight and throughout the day on Monday, just about how it works. And it's going to look similar to this. This is still essentially a qualifying round, even though the top 24 have been determined. So these 24 players are going to advance to match play. But once it gets into match play, as we said, 24 players in the field are going to have one match against each of the other players in the field over the course of 3 8-game rounds. So, Diana Zavialova will take on Daphne Tan at some point. She'll also face Misaki Mukutani. She'll face Brianna Klemmer at one point. And they're just going to bowl a head-to-head match for one game. The winner of that matchup gets 30 bonus pins added to their running pinfall total. If they happen to tie the match, both players would get 15 bonus pins. And unfortunately, for the player who loses the match, they receive 0 bonus pins. And when the match play is all said and done, the 56-game pinfall totals over the course of this week, along with however many bonus pins those players accrued through victories and or ties, will be combined. And at the end of it all, we'll tally up all the points and all the pinfall. And the top 5 will advance to the stepladder finals. So we did mention the players here for Game 5 on 13 through 16. Daphne Tan, Diana Zavialova, Misaki Mukutani, and Brianna Klemmer. Klemmer, the final player into the top 24. Went 60 over her final 2 to secure that last spot. Sherry Tans, Stephanie Zavala, Daria Payuk, and Missy Parkin on 17 through 20. On 21 through 24, you'll find Shayna Ung, Liz Johnson, Brianna Cote, and Clara Guerrero. 25 through 28, Shannon O'Keefe, Danielle McEwen, Maria Bolanova, and Shannon Pluhowski. 29 through 32, Dasha Kovalova, Taylor Baltice, Lindsay Boomershine, and Jordan Richard. Then on 33 through 36, Valerie Bercier, Verity Crawley, Josie Barnes, and Birgit Norrex.
It seems like if you miss in the oil, if you're in the middle, around, I would say 15, 16. I just watched Brianna Cote leave a pocket 7-10. And Shannon O'Keefe leave a pocket 7-10. Go ahead.
It was up there for a real brief second for Brianna Klemmer, too.
Yeah, both of their bowling balls. I'll key in on Shannon because I had a real direct view. It was heading toward the 3-pin around, looked like 16, 17-ish, maybe 18, and it you could see it motion like it was starting to make a left turn, and then it just kind of stopped, as if it was kind of gobbled up by some of that oil down lane. Which, if you recall, what JJ was talking about with a lot of the forward oil, it means there's generally more oil at the end of the pattern, and I think we got a real good view, unfortunately for Shannon, but with the pocket 7-10 from that vantage point. Shout out there for Diana Zavyalova. Someone had mentioned players thoroughly enjoying the one-on-one or head-to-head aspect of bowling. And Diane is certainly one of those players, which is why she loves the Queen so much, which has certainly helped her win 2 of those titles.
2013 and 2017. Pair of major victories, 4-time tour champ. We do have an update on scores here after 4 games of this block, 28 games overall. So essentially, technically the halfway point, game 28. Imagine running up to and telling each of these players they're only halfway done with their bowling right now. Emil, you can do that.
I could, but they would probably not be happy with it.
Sherry Tan continues to lead, plus 380, and she's under for the block today, but just nobody's really fighting their way up to her number. The folks are certainly cutting it down a little bit here, but still has built up a bit of an advantage. Daria Payuk plus 291 in second. Missy Parkin plus 262 in third. Danielle McEwen, 4 games north of 200 so far. She's now at plus 209, tied with Stephanie Zavala, who's gone the other way today. So they're tied for 4th. Zavala, 131 under so far. To fall to plus 209. Brianna Cote in 6th place, plus 205. Jordan Richard, plus 193 in 7th. Shannon Pluhowski, plus 181. Shayna Ung, plus 164. And then Diana Zavyalova might be having her and Jordan are probably been the 2 most consistent players so far today. Diana now into 10th place, plus 155. Clara in 11th, plus 153. Liz, plus 138. Josie Barnes, plus 134. Shannon O'Keefe, plus 112. And then Dasha Kovalova, 241 last game to get to plus 100 in 15th place. So those are all the players with triple digits on their plus score. It looks like Jordan and Diana, Jordan at 887, Diana at 880, and then Danielle at 859. The top 3 individual performances so far through 4 games here on the 42-foot condition.
Well, if you're Danielle, I mean, obviously that's where you want to be. You always expect her to be extremely good when they're a bit tougher also. One, because she's just an outstanding individual, an outstanding player. And she also is our defending champion here. And so anytime she can be or gain pins on the field, it's just like it's not a freebie, but it's like a free opportunity to gain some pins on the field prior to match play.
to Richard's question in the chat just to make sure we got the right information out there. Certainly not short on prize money this year. $275,000 prize fund, $100,000 going to the champion, $50,000 for second. The first six-figure payday for the tournament champion in professional women's bowling history coming up here. The reason it's 24 versus 36 is due to the number of entrants this year. So that is the big note for why this round also it doesn't have more than 24 players. So the cash ratio for this event, 1 in 3. We had 72 entrants to start. We had one player drop out prior to the beginning. So we cut from 72 down to 24 with that 1 to 3 ratio. So that's why typically with the max field here at the U.S. Women's Open, it would be 108 players, which would make the 1 in 3 36. So we would have been bringing 36 players to this round and then cutting down to the top 24 for match play after this. So essentially there is no additional cut until we get down to the top 5 for the stepladder finals a little bit later today. Or tomorrow, I should say. It's not today, because we have a full day of bowling tomorrow of match play as well. So it is due to the number of players competing this year versus anything else. That's why the difference from 36 to 24. Got a big game brewing on 23 and 24. Clara Guerrero has started with 7 out of the first 8. Watched her last game put together a pretty nice effort on the way to 228. And she had a bit of a slower start to this round, 188, 154, and 188 before 228 to get to 11th place plus 153. Clara looking to make the big move here in Game 5.
Always hard to look past an experienced player like Clara, Aaron, who has been there many times, not only on the PWBA tour, but obviously major moments in both collegiate career as well as her international career, representing Team Colombia for, 22 years, I think, something like that.
It's been a minute.
It's at least 20 for sure. And so just think about the many moments that she has had, high pressure, high leverage type situations. Is a major champion on the PWBA tour. And talk about someone having a really good season in 2019. She too was excellent in 2019 as well. Making a clean show, and had gotten back to being Clara after dealing with some injuries in the previous season in 18.
And let's head over there to see her 9th and 10th frame, see if she can finish this game off. Get to 277. Matched up with Brianna Cote, also Shayna Ung and Liz Johnson. Featured here on this channel. Clara will be up momentarily on the far right of your screen. There she is. Adds another one. Still going at him pretty direct. Make it another. Clara into the 260s. Just keeping everything in front of her there. Right up the track. Although technically there really isn't a track built into these lanes yet, but right up 10. Brand new install here at Double Decker Lanes prior to the start of the U.S. Women's Open. We have a bowling pin clear. I don't know if I've ever seen an attack that way before. He went straight into the gutter. There was no, usually, you'll throw it right into it within the first 5 feet. That was direct.
Oh.
Did not want to mess with the integrity of the pattern.
Aaron, just two pairs away from Clara. Shannon Pluhowski en route to the 250.
she's been putting up some pretty solid numbers so far this round as well. Nice 266 for Guerrero. She's going to get to plus 219. Emil, is it happening? Did Liz Johnson she spare away from the Dutch 200?
The Dutch.
Be rarely seen, but I always enjoy Dutch 200. Shayna was looking for one more there. Really good shot.
Canada reset.
Verity Crawley. $249. So just this game alone, at least 3 games of 240 or better. Honorable mention to Stephanie Zavala, who shot 234. Liz and Shayna heading over to 25 and 26. Finishing up game 5 on 29 and 30. Dasha Kovalova. Bit of a struggle today for Taylor Boltice. Made a big split just to get to have an opportunity at 171. She shoots 169. Yeah, you're right, Mark. Although Daria did get to 170, you cannot say the same for Missy Parkin, unfortunately. 1, 2, 3, I believe 4 splits. There's been a few more red circles on the boards here for these players here on this pattern. We'll be paying attention to Claire and see if she can continue on the good pace and some momentum here. Moves over to 27 and 28.
Josie with the unfortunate 7-10 to kick off game number 6. Have to get that deadwood cleared out of the way. You see pins bouncing a little bit more on 15 and 16 today than it seems like some of the other pairs we've watched throughout the course of the day. Our first look today at Verity Crawley, sparing the first. Still attacking him pretty direct. And we do have a score update available after 5 games here in round 4, 29 games overall. Sherry Tan continuing to lead the way, plus 393. Daria Payuk remains in second, despite games of 171 and 170 her last 2. At plus 261, Stephanie Zavala plus 243. She put together a nice game after some struggles in the first half of this block. 234 to get to plus 243. Shannon Pluhowski with that 259 gets to plus 240 in 4th place now. Clara Guerrero with that 266 jumps from 11th to 5th, plus 219. Danielle McEwen at plus 211. Her last 3 games, 203, 202, 202. After 223 and 231 to start. So Danielle not letting the bad games sneak in there, but hoping for a little bit more out there for sure. Brianna Cote and Diana Zavyalova, both at plus 199, tied for 7th. Missy Parkin, 136 that last game. Now at plus 198. And Shayna Ung rounds out the top 10 at plus 197. Top scores for the block so far. Diana Zavyalova, plus 124 for 5. Shannon Pluhowski now plus 97 for the block. Jordan Richard plus 80. Danielle McEwen plus 61. But just looking overall, way more players averaging under 200 so far during this block than players averaging more than it. Just a third of the field averaging 200 or more at the moment. Nice cover of the 2-4-10 from Valerie Bercier, 2019 PWBA Rookie of the Year.
Front four alert, Aaron.
Uh-oh.
I know. Shannon O'Keefe trying to quickly rebound. That 167.
Shannon over on 29 and 30 this game.
We'll take a quick moment, give a shout out to Prider here, Jim Decker, who is also volunteering and serving as a scorekeeper this morning.
He's taking care of everything.
Staff and the volunteers this week have been excellent. Don's been solid too. Hello, Susan.
Oh, how about that? Verity Crawley.
Nicely done.
2-4-8-10 conversion. To keep things clean here in Game 6 at the U.S. Women's Open. How many people would be shaking their heads if they went 3-6-9-10, 2-4-8-10 back-to-back, saying, I'm going to walk away with two marks here. Verity says, no problem. I got this. Question about Danielle McEwen. She's so far this game clean through 5. 1 strike, but the good news is it's in the 5th frame, so she can make it a double if she can continue to strike. And I just saw an absolutely awful high flush 8-10 from Shannon Pluhowski.
That was brutal.
Danielle on 29 and 30, though, if you like to head over. Overall on the day, she's currently in 6th, plus 61 over for the block, plus 211 overall for the tournament so far.
That's taking advantage right there.
Emil just informed me that I missed the key word in that question. Hopefully doing better. Now, that's been an injury throughout the course of the season. But the way Danielle's been bowling the past couple of weeks certainly seems like she's competing to the best of her ability. 2 wins already in August. First at the Lucy, along with the EJ Tackett, winning the doubles event. And then putting on a spectacular show to win the Spokane Open. Just a week ago now. 8 days ago. Daria Payuk looking to bounce back after some trouble the last two games. A pair of 170s. Off to a nice start over on 23 and 24.
Aaron, I would call this round so far slow to develop. Definitely not go out and get them immediately like yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Also not pattern 2 to where the level of difficulty was extreme. And even to the point of pattern 1, which seemed to be tricky throughout. Some people had some success, some did not. There was a lot in the middle. This one seems to be kind of that, not quite sure if this is right, what I'm working on, what I'm doing, but it's starting to slowly kind of open up. Which would then lead me to believe tonight's squad, again, based on the knowledge learned this morning, would be able to quickly or get to some higher scores quicker, especially on the fresh, than we saw this morning.
Well, Emil, we talked a little bit about it with the uniqueness of round 4 this year, and there not being a cut. Definitely a great opportunity for the players to collect information along the way. And so, typically, we talked a lot about, for the most part, from what we could see in the early going, a lot of players playing them pretty conservatively up the boards to start. Stephanie Zavala, we noted, had made a move left from the start, but we'll be interested to see if the strategy kind of stays the same, or maybe there's a little more aggressiveness in the game plan moving forward after what they've learned here throughout the course of this block, as the 9-pin denies Crawley the double. Birgit, 5 in a row.
Good question about the fans and the 300 bonus. JT just dropped that information. Regards to the fans, they're starting to pick up a little bit. Let's say a sizable crowd at this point in time of the tournament. I would expect that to increase this evening. A lot happening in this game, I can tell you that. Although, let's see, Stephanie Zavala and Sherry Tan solid, along with Diana Zavyalova and Daphne Tan. I talked about Virgeta, who we see on the screen, of course, in just a second.
Zavala can get to 235, so that would be back-to-back 230 games. Shayna Ung finishes up with 223. 246 still out there for Shannon O'Keefe.
Good stuff there from JT. Decent scores from 25 and 26. Shayna Ung, 223. LJ going to be in the 2-0s. Well, it's almost as if Jason Thomas was a good bowler at some point in his life.
Still is. According to a sign on his door, he still has a moderate rev rate. That's slightly more than perhaps a major champion.
Shayna O'Keefe made the 240s, Aaron, after that front four. She followed with 4 consecutive 9 spares. And now has ended with the suspense. Four consecutive strikes. Not sure if 4s is your thing, but that had a lot of 4s and 9s there. Front 4, 4 consecutive 9 spares, back 4, 246. It's an interesting game. A good one. But interesting. Another interesting game is how Clara, and this just goes to show bowling, certainly the pattern, obviously, pair to pair, etc. Clara shoots 260. Follows, unfortunately, with 164. She had one strike, and it came in the first frame. Made a ball change in there, wrapped a couple of 10 pins, had a pocket 7-10 in the fifth frame. All right, just about complete with game 6. Game 7 with one failed shot. Or excuse me, game 6 officially complete with one failed shot remaining. It's going to come from Brianna Clemmer, 2019 and 20, and I believe she's looking for a new bowling ball to try. I'd be very curious if, and I do remember your question, Sean, if you're still watching. Excuse me. I'll try to make sure we get we'll have some reps on. Either if we can't get one before we end here, we'll definitely have one on tonight and talk about ask that question about how many players made a change to their ball cards. I'd be curious of that percentage too. I think there was at least a couple players that I knew or talked to that were going to drill a bowling ball last night after what they practiced on. So I'd probably say, it's my opinion, maybe a third, perhaps. I guess to finish my original point, I was thinking how many players may make another change if they could, if they were allowed to, after having 6 games in the books on pattern 4. This is where the Abralon rolls in. Need to make changes. Bring out the pads. I do think it's fair to say that a lot of the bowling balls that seem to be going down the lane are slower response. Not seeing a lot of violence at the end of the pattern for perhaps multiple reasons, but one, the pattern, but I really think two, the equipment. Looks like at some point. KVK will join us for an update. We'll wait for AA Ron to return here shortly. Go. Shannon got the support. Taylor and Lauren. And according to the chat, booyah! There is a score update after 30 games. Sherry Tan still in the lead at plus 391. Stephanie Zavala now back-to-back 230 games. Into plus 278. Look at the start that she had, too. and now has found her way back into that spot. Daria Payuk now third at plus 251. Shayna Ung fourth at plus 220. She, too, 233, 223. Her last two. Shannon Pluhowski now fifth at plus 219. There is a four-way tie. Goodness, a four-way tie for sixth place. At plus 202, Danielle McEwen, Diana Zavyalova, Missy Parkin, and Jordan Richard. Brianna Cote is 10th at plus 194. Clara Guerrero, 11th at plus 183. Liz Johnson, 12th at plus 142. Shannon O'Keefe, 13th at plus 125. And we get to back to double digits. Dasha Kovalova, 14th at plus 97. Daphne Tan is 15th at plus 94. Björn Norvikes is 16th at plus 90. Misaki Motani and the Verity Crawley tied for 17th at the moment at plus 81. Josie Barnes, 19th at plus 78. Maria Bolanova, 20th at plus 17. And then we get into some negative numbers. Taylor Boltice is 21st at minus 20. Brianna Klemmer, 22nd at minus 21. Valerie Bercier, 23rd at minus 51. And Lindsay Boomershine is 24th at minus 110.
With the score set in place, let's welcome back Curtis Von Kruger to the broadcast. Curtis, welcome back.
Hey, thank you guys. Excited to be back. Just kind of been walking around, getting a feel for what is happening here, and it is assuredly a tricky pattern, obviously, that goes without saying. But you're kind of in a devil's choice here in the sense that you have to stay right, you have to throw it slow, but you start to have problems with the mid lane, and so you want to move left, but you can't move left because there's a hang spot down lane, from what I understand. And so you kind of get stuck in this zone where everybody's still kind of playing, and some people are making it work. You have some really, really great, some really good solid blocks here. Diana Zavyalova leading the way right now with 1327 for her 6 games. That's 127 over for the day, and looking to continue that momentum. But look at those top 4 right now, Emil. 1178 for 6, 1138 for 6, and that's with back-to-back 230s from Steph. 1168 by Daria, who's had 3. She started off pretty decently, but has had some trouble the last 3 games. Shayna 233, 223, but still has a posted score of 1186. That 159 and 158 is going to shoot you in the foot there pretty well. And then you have to go all the way down to Shannon Pluhowski in 5th place with the first positive block that we see here. And then it's her, Danielle McHugh, and Diana Zavyalova all posting positive scores. And that just goes to show you that, this round matters. We have seen a big shuffling of the deck here. And some players have really kind of put themselves in a much better position. When you pick up, when you can pick up almost 200 to the show, or 100 over 100 pins to the show, that's going to get you. That's going to move you far. I've been impressed with Stephanie Zavala's bounce back, Emil. Really, absolutely looked lost out there for 4 games. And at the U.S. Open, it's easy to lose that focus. You get frustrated. You got tons of games left, and you can let your concentration drift. But she really buckled back down, and 234, 235, respectively, back to back the last 2, to really kind of put the fire out and stop the burning. So very impressive performance there by Stephanie. And really, puts herself back in 2nd place, and Sherry Tan's not running away with it by any means. If anything, she's just kind of hanging in. She did, pick up a nice lead, a little bit of a cushion there, but that can evaporate quickly, Emil.
Did you happen to see early? We talked about Stephanie early on in this block, and she seemed to be a little further left than everyone else. And then those 330 games, did you happen to see where she was playing? Was she similar to earlier, or did she kind of move back right a little bit?
She moved back right just a touch, but it still wasn't too far off from what she was playing. It's staying slow. You really have to stay slow, because if you get fast with it, you're going to send it through the mids, and it's never going to read, right? It's just going to skid through, and you're going to end up taking the 3-pin back, or the wonderful 2-8-10. And so you have to keep it slow, and you can't get it going too right too quick. And the same thing's going to happen. It's never going to read the pattern, and it's going to just blow through. Speed control and launch angle are essential, absolutely essential for this block.
JT was talking about speed bumps in the chat, and obviously co-sign on that. So and I don't like speed bumps. I don't know anyone who does like speed bumps.
Yeah, nobody's like, oh man, I'm super stoked that there's a speed bump at 30 feet. Yeah, no, said nobody ever.
Even in real life, in your motor vehicle, you just have to slow down.
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do. It filters out, you get that long straight road. You're like, oh, I'm going to gun it. Nope. 25 mile an hour speed bumps. Keep it slow. And I'm sure JJ did a really great job of talking about how the forward oil affects the ball going through the lane, going through the heads in the mid lane.
Well, I think we were able to see a couple of shots. I mentioned some pocket 7-10s a couple of games ago. What looked to be good shots, but that as so much forward oil has been down near the end of the pattern, it just never, you get to see the ball try, like it was trying,
just burns up,
and just didn't happen.
Yep.
So we saw a little bit of that actually as well. And speaking of Stephanie Zavala, not a bad start, early split. We've seen a lot of splits today.
Yes.
A lot of red circles across the board. Every player has dealt with multiples. It seems like, especially one game.
Look at all the seven red circles you see around. And I guarantee you those are all, for the most part, 2 4-10s, 2 8-10s. And the unfortunate thing about it is those are really, really low percentage, if not effectively impossible splits to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do that, bam, well, there goes a minimum of 10 pins right there out the door. Oh man. Dang. Apparently, I got things falling off the tables over here. Emil, I'm a disaster today. Absolute disaster. I'm going to go have a bowl of Fruity Pebbles and just get back with you.
I think that's a good idea.
Just take a moment. When a bowler helps you pick up your mixer, you know you're doing a quality job. Just high quality.
Oh, KVK. I love you, man.
Well, somebody has to.
Only you can somehow drop a mixer.
I didn't even know how he did it. I just felt something.
Oh, man. The show is going to be on CBS Sports Network. Again, CBS Sports Network, as Jason Thomas has dropped that info in the chat. 7 p.m. Eastern time, Tuesday. Everything leading up to the stepladder finals will be right here on Bowl TV like normal. It's weird, but obviously, originally, TV was not in play this season, and thankfully, it is in play now, and certainly,
absolutely,
and certainly should be as well. And so it's like a different, look at the reverse has happened there. People are now used to every tournament and every stepladder being on Bowl TV, and so like reallocating the information. Where like 2019 and previous, it's like people know that the stepladders, generally speaking, are on CBS Sports Network. Everything else leading up to it's on Bowl TV.
Hey, that's just people wanting it to be on Bowl TV, just indicative of the quality of broadcast that Bowl TV puts out. Emil, and you're a big part of that.
Multiple good problems to have, though. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Valerie Berthier, who has struggled today, is maybe starting to see a little bit of light as we end this block.
Well, she's one of those players that is going to need every bit of those 720 bonus pins and to get things moving here. But it's encouraging because if you figure it out and you get that little glimmer of hope going into the first match play round, Emil, you can pick up pins quick. One good game and you're picking up 80, 90, 100 sticks. And that can obviously, my Madden statement of the day, if you get 100 pins, you're gonna move up on the scoreboard. Yeah. But I mean,
Boom.
boom. Get that strike going here. Boom. But yeah, these players are going to have to stay focused and try to finish this block out strong. Take a nap, push the reset button, do something on the break, and come back here ready to shoot 8 more games.
I think, obviously this round had utter importance, even though match play hadn't begun. There's no bonus yet and all of that. But, you get 8 games to do a couple of things. Hopefully move up the standings. Hopefully not lower your position. Or if you are someone who is at the bottom of that top 24, move up. Same thing for those who are at the top. Hopefully they wouldn't see massive drop. Try to get as much information and learn about what's happening and what this pattern will produce or provide. And you come back and then apply that knowledge, figure out what surfaces you may need. Bowling balls are now out of play, meaning there are no more changes unless you make the show. So what equipment you have. How do you make those surfaces work? How do you make those bowling balls work? And that's kind of where we are for at this particular point in time. Good shot there from Kulhowski in the 8th. Milanova have to step up here. Meanwhile, Danielle McEwen on a 3-bagger of her own. She can get to 233. O'Keefe can get to 221.
Oh, man, I just got a front row seat to a nasty messenger by DZ. Gotta love it. I've been thoroughly impressed with Danielle McEwen's bowling today, Emil. I mean, the epitome of a U.S. Open professional block.
Well, she is a U.S. Open champion.
She knows how to win at the U.S. Open. One of the few players not named Liz to win the U.S. Open. But I've been just utterly. She never ceases to amaze and impress me. Just the way that she keeps her emotions in check, although she can be very intense. We all know that. But she goes about her business. She picks up her spares, 3-bagger, 4-bagger here and there. Doesn't get herself into trouble, controls the pocket. Those are the keys to success here at the U.S. Open, and she has done a phenomenal job. If you want to know, high gain 231, Emil. Low gain 191. That is an awesome window to be in. A very stable, if you were to plot all those points out on a graph, a very stable sloped line. You don't want those big jagged peaks and valleys.
She is, to me, arguably has the most business-like approach.
Oh, yes.
To professional bowling. To me, it's her and Liz Johnson on tour. And everything you just described, especially what you see on the outside, portraying the emotions. Very rarely do we see a fist bump here and there, when it really calls.
When it matters, yeah.
But outside of that, she is going to be in her process all the time. And that's what keeps her, or that's what has made her one of the best in the world.
Yes. And she is one of the best in the world. It's got a scare, it's interesting. And that's where it's interesting to me that this year has forced her to pick up a whole new bag of tricks. And when she gets 100% healthy, that should scare the entire field. Because
I mean, it should already be.
she already can beat you.
Should already be frightened. We briefly touched on that. Someone had asked about Danielle's toe injury.
Yep.
Weren't completely sure, but she's wearing 2 bowling shoes now. Wearing a bowling shoe on her right foot, which is certainly a good sign. And she said back or a few months back, the only time that she would have some break time would be prior to the Lucy, where she would take that opportunity to just rest for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that would be the most time she would have to allow it to properly heal. And as Aaron mentioned, obviously with 2 wins in the month of August, she's probably feeling okay.
Yeah, she's it definitely doesn't break her heart, but she's someone who she relies on leg strength and her power step to derive so much of her speed. And when you take that, and she's admitted such that it's been hard for her to unload with that foot injury, and she's had to. And Emil, you probably know this as well as anybody. If you affect your footwork, every part of your timing and your game absolutely gets thrown off.
Absolutely.
And so it's almost like you have to relearn how to bowl.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Footwork is once you get it down, you hope you don't ever have to change it, or you get into any bad habits that will force you to change it. D-Mac finishes with 205. Bucket spare here for Shannon O'Keefe. It is converted, and that is 219.
No, nice. Good, solid game there. Jillian, I'm on a mission for you. I will hunt and see what Diana Zavjalova is throwing, because I, as well, am very curious. All I know is it looked pretty.
Well, it's probably going to be or change in just a second. I think
yes, she's grabbing a bag.
Yeah, something to throw on the fill.
So let's get we'll get an inside look at the bag right here. Is that an A? What is that?
It looked like a Rubicon. Hard to tell.
It is.
J-Rod. Oh, man. It's like the countdown is set for J-Rod. Like, never misses it. He is LeVar Ball. Undefeated. Never lost.
So, report from DZ is she's going to stay in the phase 2. But she did make 3 ball changes. She changed to 3 balls that particular game. And that's one of those situations where she was hunting. She was fishing for something that maybe carries a little bit better, but realized that the risk wasn't worth the reward, that it was more important to maintain the pocket and just take your your 9 counts. 9's not a bad shot. So she's going to stay in the phase 2 for now, Jillian. This report brought to you by Fruity Pebbles.
Then Post.
Post cereals. Come on, give us a sponsorship, Post.
You know, Curtis, before we turn it over to Aaron to handle the giveaway here.
Ooh, giveaway. Is it a ball? No, it's still a shirt.
I used to have the snack pack cereals. You know, it's on the little small boxes.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I used to have them on the live stream table a few years back. It would be it turned first it was a snack, and then it kind of turned into like a thing, and then people started noticing. They started bringing more cereal boxes to the live stream table.
Oh, I'm just gonna bring 18 boxes of Fruity Pebbles. Just everybody keeps asking me, well, do you like Cocoa Pebbles? And the answer is no. I am dedicated to that.
That was a hard no right there.
It's a hard no, bro. It's a hard no.
The stance is in place.
Yeah, no. A line must be drawn here. You shall not pass.
I do remember the mini cereal box days with a meal. There was I think it was just it started ending up in the live stream box, which probably isn't the best thing. So after a while, you probably couldn't eat them, but or you wouldn't want to at least. But yes, there was a mini fort being built at one point with
I love it
with various brands. I don't know if Fruity Pebbles was included or not.
Well, it'd be a crime if it wasn't. What's your cereal there, Aaron?
Oh, you see, I'm gonna go the opposite way. I'm a Raisin Bran guy.
Okay. All right, got to get that fiber.
It's very, very important to a.
You're a 2 scoops man, huh?
Gets the job done. But folks, let's. We're not giving away cereal here on BullTV.com. Giveaway is going to be a Bull TV T-shirt. Once again, so if you're joining us for the first time, the giveaways work pretty easily. You're going to see a prompt in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. It's going to say a giveaway will begin soon. Watch here to participate. It's going to count down for 60 seconds. And then after that, you'll see a new prompt that says the giveaway has begun. There should be a submit entry button right next to it. And if you click on that submit entry button, you will be entered for a chance to win a Bull TV T-shirt. So if you are in full screen mode, we do recommend you take it out of full screen for just a second. Make sure you can see the chat. But folks, we'll go ahead and get that started here momentarily.
Good luck, everybody.
Good luck. That's right.
I have seen multiple Aaron Smith, multiple Bull TV shirts this week.
How about that?
Yes.
It's in the streets. Bull TV T-shirt.
These kids and their rock and roll music and Bull TV T-shirts. Hooligans, I tell you. All this tomfoolery.
With that shot from Liz Johnson, the giveaway is underway. Good luck, everybody. Thank you again for being part of the Bull TV community.
I think we've made people hungry, Aaron Smith.
A lot of hot takes on the cereal.
If this pattern were a cereal, it'd be shredded wheat.
Gotta call you out. Elaborate.
I mean, you know you got to eat it because it's your breakfast, but do you really want to? We're not talking about the stuff with the frosting. There's no sweetness to it, but it is good for you.
What's all the pet food for? Fiber.
What's that? Yeah, fiber. I think though the overall consensus is still though grape nuts are the worst.
Mm. Good Lord. Is that where we're going with this combo?
Oh yeah.
Might be time to put a bow on it if we got the grape. Oh man.
Uh,
Don't forget to submit that entry, good people.
Yes, SG Curlis, we did see you here. You look spry, rocking the Bull TV T-shirt. Tim, we will start giving bowling balls away during match play, if I am correct. Yeah, you do get 5 points for you get 5 points for just entering the giveaway. So that's a double bonus right there. Although, Emil, I'm going to petition because this is a major. Bull TV fans should be getting double points too.
Wow. Well,
I just kicked everybody under the bus there.
I believe you know who to talk to about that.
What do you guys think? Double points for majors?
That's funny. Yeah, sure. Congrats to Maureen.
Come on, Maureen.
She got herself a Bull TV T-shirt.
Ron says, I love grape nuts, even though it contains neither. So true.
John?
You know, one of my least favorite leaves, the Pocket 810. Verity Crawley just smashed one here right in front of me.
Liz Johnson, Shayna Ung, Missy Parkin, and Daria Payok to end here on 13 through 16. We should have I don't know if I may have missed the score update. You guys go over that already?
We haven't. We were waiting for the dulce tones of Emil Williams Jr. to go over those. That's your territory right there, my friend.
It's really been Aaron's this week, but I don't see the update yet online.
I do.
I do have it. Oh, you do?
Yeah, I got Sherry Tannen first at 402 over.
Well, there you have it.
Daria Payok moves back into second after shooting a 205, puts her at 256 over. Stephanie Zavala back 172, puts her back at third. Shannon Pluhowski continues to have one of the hot rounds. I think she's next to Diana Zavjalova. One of the higher rounds here, 1490 for her 7 games. That's plus 90. Shayna shooting at 1399, so just right on the south end of positive there, -1 for the day. But two 150 games will do that to you. And then Danielle McEwen, solid round so far, 1457. She's in 6th place. We finally broke up that 4-way tie for 5th place there. Diana Zavjalova, Missy Parkin, Clara Guerrero, Brianna Cote round out the top 10.
Yeah, just to give you guys an indication on how it's going for some players and like the feeling on this pattern so far. As I was walking back to the booth area, I saw some people in the audience, and I gave some fist pumps. Then I just continued on giving fist pumps to every single person that I saw. I got to Jordan Richard, and she said, "Are there any strikes within that fist pump?" I said, "I hope so." He gave me a look like, "Me too." we're at a point where we're hoping strikes are in hand. Pick which fist it is, which hand. It's got the magic touch. He actually started out so well too.
Big 266 in game 2.
He actually hasn't had a very bad round at all. In fact, it's been good and by comparison, almost great. I love that Dan changed his name in the chat to make sure he was confirming he is not related to Nick. That's fantastic. Probably doesn't want any bad words in his direction if he's related to the pattern creator. And 20, what lane is that? 22? 22 has seemed to be a potential repeat offender of pocket 710s.
Not a thing you want to be known for.
Yeah.
Good mention in the chat from Ken talking about Diana posting the highest block so far here on pattern number 4. That is correct, 1530. All games north of 200, and she's off to another strong start. Currently on 31 and 32. Strike open 4 in a row.
Sheriff Daria. I'm looking at that last spare attempt prior to that. was thought she had that one, and then of course now potential trouble. Although her good friend did make this earlier, right, Aaron?
On that very same lane.
How about that?
Verity crawling. Although she'll just take the 3 there. First open of the final game here. Folks, just a reminder, we will be back at it tonight. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 local time, for the first 8 games of match play here at the 2021 U.S. Women's Open. All 24 players will be back. She's going to have to take that one. 5 out of 6, though, to start. Sherry Tan putting together a solid game here. And if you're her, you got to be pretty happy that you're probably going to have maybe an even block and actually gain pins on the field.
Yeah, this is like the equivalent to being outplayed or something like that, but only being down by a point going into halftime, or somehow leading. In this case, that would be the Sherry Tan analogy, because you'd have to assume she's only going to make the right decisions later, as she sees the pattern more. Not that she's made any wrong decisions, but to be about even, theoretically, okay, well, she's probably going to gain pins, and by that time it could be too late for others.
Yeah, obviously, we've had some players making their runs here, talking specifically Shannon Pluhowski, Danielle McEwen, Diana Zavyalova, so they certainly have something figured out for sure. But those players who started off the block kind of in that top 5 position really haven't gotten too much going today. Just kind of hanging around even. A few folks giving some pins back. Only 7 players plus at the moment for the block.
I think this extra hour break is going to be ideal for everyone. Really good chance to let's just you have to take something away from this block. Like, you have to, because you're going to see this same pattern. So it can't be an instant throw it away moment, but you do have to decipher it, take what you can, what you need really, and then toss it. Good shot away from our cameras from a couple folks, including Shannon Pluhowski. In fact, she can finish in the with 2:14. Lindsay Boomershine able to end this thing on a good note. Should be in the 2:20s. A couple players I am surprised to see struggling as much, though. I thought Lindsay, again, just looking at a few shots from practice, would have a solid day overall. Valerie Bercier as well. Both of those players throw, on the slower side in regards to ball speed. So you think they'd be able to get their balls to shape properly?
Just cover there of the 210 by Shayna.
Jay Rich is going to end on a good note as well. Chance to get into the 230s.
So you're saying there's some life in that in the fist bump you got there.
Maybe.
Folks are going to be coming left and right at you next round.
He can shoot 230 even. Verity can get to 215. It's going to get to 2. It's like Clara can get in the 2 teens. Brianna Cote is going to be in the 2 teens, 214 actually. 229 for Jordan Richard. Boy, ringing and wrap tens have been string enders here this morning here at Smith. We haven't seen a lot of emotion from players, I think, even throughout the pattern 2 and whatnot. But today, seeing more terrible faces made at ring tens.
Missy with that first strike in the 10th into the 240s. She goes. Be a nice finish for her, but I think with just kind of the difficulty and the lower scoring pace we've seen with this pattern, this is those really good shots that don't result in 10 probably sting a little bit more, especially knowing that at the end of this round, you're not done with this pattern. I think Richard made a good point a couple minutes back in the chat. Being able to, you kind of have to fight that feeling. If you've had a whole round where you've had 180, 185, 190 ball reaction for an entire block, you certainly got to figure something out here to keep pace if you want to have a chance at that CBS Sports Network final. And what adjustments are going to be made in these next couple of hours? Turn that ball reaction to a 2-0, 2-teen type of look, which kind of looks like the max out here overall for a block.
Well, we might be seeing some high risk plays here later today or tonight based on what's happened this morning. Some bowling balls that perhaps weren't going to be used or thought to be used may see a frame or two. At least probably we'll see the practice session prior to tonight's match play. Shot away from 254 for Missy Parkin. Somebody's going to go to lunch at least a little bit happy.
$253 for Missy. She was at plus 194 entering this game, so plus 247. Gonna move her up potentially a couple spots here.
That concludes round 4 of qualifying of the U.S. Women's Open.
Shannon O'Keefe, 144 to finish.
4-5. We will get ready.
Danielle McCune
Match play this evening.
can get to 180.
Going fans, we hope to see you back here this evening again at 5 p.m. for the that concludes round 4 of the U.S. Women's Open. Ladies, add up those recaps, turn them into the front counter. We'll get those scores verified. And we will get ready to head into match play this evening at 5 p.m. Foreign fans, we hope to see you back here this evening again at 5 p.m. for the start of head-to-head match play of the U.S. Women's Open. Have a great afternoon.
All right, folks, you heard the announcement there from tournament director and USBC Hall of Famer Tennille Milligan. This round is now complete. We'll be back on the lanes for round robin match play, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 local time in Rohnert Park, California at Double Decker Lanes.
One of those mornings, you know what I mean, Cecil?
All right, folks, bowl.com and PWBA.com, the place to be to find the recap and more after the conclusion of today's round. See those final standings heading into round robin match play, of course, on social media as well at PWBA Tour across all 3 social platforms, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook for the PWBA Tour. The Sport of Bowling USBC on Facebook, at USBC on Twitter, at US Bowling Congress. On Instagram.
Why are you so mean?
But with that, this round in the books, we got about 3 hours and change. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here from Double Decker Lanes. So, Emil, some final thoughts before we head out?
Aaron, it was a tough one out there. I don't think I anticipated it to be as low scoring as we saw it. We'll have some opportunities to speak with not only some players later, but certainly some ball reps and get y'all some more info when we get back to match play this evening. But yeah, the differences in what we will see tonight, I would assume would direct contrast what we saw today. And maybe they won't. Maybe it's a situation to where you got to manage this pattern as best as possible, take what you can get, just like any other pattern we've seen this week. With the exception maybe of yesterday, of course. But it might just be as simple as that. Win some matches, accrue the bonus pins, and see where you are, after 8 matches or so. But I am very intrigued on, obviously, the strategic situations and decisions, and look forward to catching up with a few of the reps later during that warm-up session and bringing you guys some info tonight.
It's the U.S. Open, kids. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Got that right.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for round number 4, round robin match play. Coming up next here, BowlTV.com 2021 U.S. Women's Open. A big thank you to the USBC and BPAA and their board of directors for their continued support of the PWBA Tour, as well as USBC short duration events, just like the U.S. Women's Open. Of course, the Kegel, the official lane maintenance provider. A big thank you again to John Janowitz for joining us here on Bowl TV a little bit earlier in the round, discussing some of the finer points of reading the graph, the oil patterns, and more. So we got a lot of great information from JJ. So a big thank you to him as well. Of course, our athletes out here on the PWBA Tour for continuing to put on a great performance for us here at the U.S. Women's Open. And of course, all the good folks on Bowl TV watching the action. We appreciate everybody swinging by. Always enjoy the opportunity to bring you great content like this from great bowling events like the U.S. Women's Open, the PWBA Tour, and more. Finally, for the staff at Double Decker Lanes, the PWBA and USBC short duration teams, and the support here at the IBC campus, the Bowl TV team. Matt Canizaro put together a lot of great recap stories. Be sure to check those out, bowl.com and pwba.com at the end of the day. Jason Thomas, Curtis Von Kruger, Emil Williams Jr., I'm Aaron Smith. We are signing off for now from the U.S. Women's Open. We'll be back at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 local time in Rohnert Park for the first round of match play. But folks, we're going to go ahead and sign off. We'll see you soon. And remember, right here on Bowl TV, bowling lives here.